So this is the first sales meeting of the last month of your year.
That's right.
You know the expression, the first day of the rest of your life.
It is that too.
It is that too. It is that too. And actually, Bill Mosey, Hampton's dad, used to say this to him. Today is the tomorrow that were in you yesterday, and all is well. This is like a peaceful way to just roll into the week. I like that. Where's Hampton? Hampton?
He's downstairs.
Oh, come on, Hampton.
He's coming.
Hampton!
He's getting a biscuit.
He's getting a biscuit. Oh.
If you come to the office, you might get
Come to the office, you might get a chicken biscuit. Will's gonna have to start investing in more of those. What are you grateful for today, Hunter?
Chick-fil-A biscuit coming up soon after the sales meeting. I'm on like 3 cups of coffee with no food, so jittery.
A little jittery. That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for got past a cherry picker truck as I was trying to drop my kids off at school, and it decided to roll up like 3 cars in front of me and change the stoplight on Estes this morning. It took, we had to wait about 15 minutes. It's like at 7:45.
Only happens when you're in a hurry.
Yeah, but it finally moved, and the stoplight is not working, so it's all good. What are y'all grateful for today? Brian, you're looking grateful back there.
Grateful for the holidays.
Yeah, Chandler, you?
Yeah, same. A little bit of a break.
A little bit of a break. Y'all had a good Thanksgiving? Where'd you go? Did you stay here?
Here for Thanksgiving, Chattanooga for Friday. Do it again. Caddy's family's from Chattanooga.
All right. That's cool. Well, very good. I went down to Louisiana. Quick trip, but it was fun. Got to see a lot of cousins.
Feels like a long time ago.
It does. It was just a week ago, right?
We no longer can talk about what you did for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Absolutely. So Teddy sent me a message, and
He's here.
I was going to say, there you are. I was like, I thought you were saying you were here. So
Yeah.
come on down.
You can't live demo, right?
We don't have a live demo, but I got the.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
Screenshots.
Good. All right, we'll do all those things. Cool. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Happy end of middle of December.
Yeah.
So we're in, right?
December 7th.
Do I
a day
arrow
that will
forward for
live-
slides?
A day that will live in infamy.
All right.
You know.
It will.
You know why?
No.
December 7th? Pearl Harbor Day.
Pearl Harbor.
Will.
You see a true salesman, though, immediately like you're absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know why? But you're always like, absolutely.
That was brilliant.
Is this carpet great? Absolutely. Is parquet coming back? It should be, maybe. Like a Seinfeld episode, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what do we got coming up in education? Hey, today, what a time of year for open houses, but we realize we do not have an open house class recorded, and so we are doing an open house dissection today about broker opens and opens, all the magic and tricks from prep to the show to the follow-up and how to convert business out of that. Yeah, it's going to be good. Good. What time is that today, friends? 10:30. 10:30. It's going to be recorded as well. I even got a call in last night for somebody that was like, it's going to be recorded. I can't be there. I got a client meeting. So
So if I were a new agent,
yeah.
wouldn't you just be offering yourself up, say, hey, I can cover an open house, or, making connections around the office and like just blocking off Sunday every week to do an open house?
I think you should at least maybe 2 to 3 a month
Yeah.
to maintain good balance. But I think with everything in this business is there's best practices. And so I've tried to develop a system that's based upon other things that I've learned or adopted from people that are crushing open houses. And so early in my business, that was something that I saw was having success. And even when stereotypically they weren't, I was modeling new practices after agents that I know came into the business in their first year, did 45 transactions, none from their team, all from open houses.
Wow.
Yep.
So there's some methods.
There really is. There's some methods, and I think if you're going to spend the 2 hours for the show, put another 2 to 4 hours and really leverage it into a much bigger opportunity, because it's really not about the open house. And that goes for most things, I think, when it comes to events. It's not about the actual event. It was about what was the build-up, the lead-up, the invitation. We're going to talk about Mary Beth's broker open. She's got a $12,000 broker open this week. I encourage you to attend and not eat her food. But that's going to be...
so she's investing $12,000 to do this broker open.
She is. Thursday evening, friends. But we're going to show you also too what some of the broker opens, like what can you do for 500 to 1,000, and when and why would you do broker opens, but more importantly, those public opens, what you can leverage out of an open house for relatively very little money.
Cool.
Yeah.
10:30.
10:30. Yep. Thrive tomorrow. We encourage you to come to that. And then we've got Mentor Collaborative, Elevate Your Business with CRM Automation, all the things you're seeing in your weekly email. But somebody yesterday called me and they're like, well, where do I get the recording? Well, we try to put that to many, many places. We even have a new website that we're going to show you as well. So, villageeducationonline.com. Ta-da! This is all things Village in this spot for you regarding education and some other helpful links there. In the new year, we'll be moving to a single Zoom sign-on. Some of you experienced the challenge of that it doesn't have passwords, but you don't have to remember what meeting ID or any of those things. We just have to have it covered where we get you in there. So that will be the new link for the new year. But in this, of course, we have, if you scroll down on the site, you're going to see other links to classes. These are just quick links. And then you can see agent services if you want to learn about these tools. And I'm going to just point out here, some of the drop downs over here are real important here. Class calendar, the full calendar is there. That's what you find in Google. Helpful links are going to be things to headshots and web links. And then in more is going to be a link to the catalog for 2020, 2021, all the links, all the things. So if you just want to go, I need help with buying land, we have a class for this. You can click on more, go into the catalog, and even search. It's a Google sheet, and just put in land. It'll show you any classes related to land. Do you love it?
We love it.
Absolutely. All right. There you go. Do you want a tech tip?
Yeah, tech tip, please.
All right.
Don't leave me hanging.
All right. So I'll tell you where I get a lot of the cool tech tips, by the way. I shouldn't give away my sources, but Raising Tech and Instagram. This guy delivers some amazing tech tips. So this one I like. If you haven't gone to the new iOS, when in your camera app now you can scan text. So you want to copy that beautiful written MLS that somebody else did and you don't want to retype it, just open your camera app, point it on there, it'll recognize the text and then it'll ask you to select that. What's cool is once you select that text, it's pretty, you just did it, right? Yep, wait. If that was in Parler Français, you can translate and it, boom, right like that. Yes.
I do it in Greek.
And there's a demo there. So literally the guy does it and he goes to the back cover of a French book, scans it, hits more, translate,
Oh,
right?
my son's Spanish.
Coast to coast, let's go celebrate. See ya.
That's amazing, dude. Thank you. Well done.
That's awesome.
Very good. Connie, you in the house? So we'll get you up. So open houses. Please attend this class. I've told Brian, you're back there. I told Brian I had an open house earlier. It was early in Brian's career, and I remember it was on 38th Avenue in Sylvan Park. And he's like, "Hey, I saw you got a new listing. Can I do an open house this Sunday?" I was like, "Sure."
So you barely know Brian at this point.
Barely know. New agent. He's like, "Can I do it?" I was like, "Sure." My client would be happy. I called him afterwards. I'm like, "How'd it go?" He said, "It was great. I got 2 buyers and a potential listing. Put me down for next Sunday." I was like, "Okay,
I'm
sure."
gonna take that one.
So he's like, "Next Sunday." He does it. I'm like, "How'd it go?" Got another buyer and another listing appointment. Put me down for next Sunday. I was like, "Hell no, I'm doing next Sunday." And I did, and I never ever picked up a buyer or a client from an open house before, and I got my very first one that Sunday. And I guarantee you it had nothing to do with, at that point, I still didn't know what I was doing, but it was really just a mindset thing. I believed because I'd seen it be done, and I believed it could be done. So anyway, I actually ran into another agent recently who was like, "I don't know if you remember, but I got my first buyer at one of your listings at an open house." I was like, "Was it on 38th?" Because I told that story, and he was like, "I want to do one too." So anyway, it really is a mindset piece, but there's a lot of great tips from there. So Connie, Eddie, what do we got here? Some conforming loan limits. I'll let her do the slides. You want to talk to Connie?
Yeah, I'll talk to Connie.
Talk to me. Yeah, we got new conforming loan limits have just been announced, so.
Okay, so conforming loan, just back up.
Okay.
You got, that's basically like your bread and butter, Fannie Mae approved, just
Yep,
not a
traditional,
problem, traditional
formal,
deal.
Yep.
And historically, what?
Well, let's see. It has been 548,250 for the conforming limit, and then Davidson County and like the surrounding counties have also a high balance conforming. So it's like before you get to a jumbo loan. When you get to jumbo, the guidelines change dramatically.
Yep.
So debt ratios are a little tighter. It's just harder to qualify for. More requirements as far as reserves. You can only have like 4 properties financed when you get into jumbo. So there's a lot more as far as just the guidelines to getting approved for a jumbo loan. And that's the loan limit had been over 586. So every year around November, they announce the new conforming limits. And so this year they've increased them. Do you have a slide for it? Or?
Yeah, just hit forward on that, like hit the arrow key forward.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so previous limits for conventional conforming loans has been 548,250. The new limit now, just for, it's like basically across the country, everywhere, 647,200 is the new conforming loan limit. So it's nice because, like, again, that particular like conforming loan allows us to do like if somebody can get qualified for using just 1-year tax returns if they're self-employed. So there's just a lot of nice, guidelines and a little easier to qualify for. Okay, so and then the previous high balance has been 586,500. Now 694,600. So that's Davidson County, Williamson, Rutherford. It's quite a bit that actually. I think it goes
So
down
the
to
number,
Maury
if
County.
we're doing something right around here
Yeah.
for us, is 694.
694,
If
600.
they want to finance 694, which would mean like
Yep.
a 700 something.
Yeah, it allows them to
house.
put like 5% down because it's a conforming.
Gotcha.
Rather than, on most of the jumbos, again, you're looking at a much larger down payment. So it really is, so now that limit, it's gone up like $108,000.
Big jump.
It's huge.
Cool.
Yeah, and then FHA, and those are effective now on all the conforming. FHA, it actually is effective as of January, but the new limit now for pretty much, most of it is like 694, 600. You get into some of the outlying counties though, and it drops significantly. So it's like, it goes down to like 420,000. So if you're looking at an FHA, if you've got an FHA buyer, make sure that we're checking the county on that because, that's a huge drop from 694 to 420.
But Williamson County would still be.
Oh yeah, Williamson, it's pretty,
gotta get
far
out
spread.
there, like
Yeah, it's like when you get over
Van
to
Buren.
Knoxville or somewhere, it's, Van Buren, wherever that is.
Grundy.
Grundy.
Rough sledding in Grundy.
These are really important numbers to know. Though. You got to memorize these and rattle them off because when you're talking to somebody and they're trying to figure out how much they can afford, obviously put them in touch with a lender. But it's important to know, like, all right, where's your limit based on what their down payment is? Are they getting into jumbo territory, or is it going to be a conforming loan?
Yeah, because the rates and the guidelines and down payment, all of that changes once they get into jumbo.
647.2.
All right, thank you.
How do you find out which counties are in the lower limit counties? Is it?
Well, you can actually there's a website you can go to, FHA limits.
We'll put the link.
Send
We'll
that
put the
up.
link in the.
Yeah,
in the
then you
notes.
just plug it in and it'll tell you.
Because I would guarantee that Franklin and Grundy County are in the.
Yeah, make sure though when you do that, so there's a little drop down at the bottom that you have to do like 2022. Make sure that you're putting like for the next year in there,
Got it.
so it'll give you what the new limits are.
Okay.
Sorry, one question I missed here. The limit versus the high balance.
The high balance limit versus the regular limit.
So there's it's like pretty much again across the country, the 647,200 is the new conforming limit. There's only little spots in the country that they actually will allow a high balance conforming loan. So again, it still follows the traditional conforming guidelines. And but Davidson County, Williamson, Rutherford, Wilson County, a lot of the surrounding counties around Davidson is one of those selected areas in the country. There's really not very many areas throughout the country that have that high balance. So we're fortunate enough to be one of those. Yeah.
So we just need to worry about the high balance around here.
694.6.
694.
All right, 694.6.
There's a little bit of a smidgen of a higher interest rate when you go to high balance, but again, it's better than going into the jumbo.
Gotcha.
Very good. Thanks, Connie. Connie, Eddie, everybody. All right. You familiar with the loss aversion theory?
No.
All right, so this is pretty cool. So I've been doing a little research on this. It's sort of a human behavior. Sometimes economists will call it a prospect theory, but loss aversion is the idea that the fear of loss can exceed our desire for gain, right? So the idea of like, if you win $10, you're like, oh, that's cool. If you lose $10, it's like, oh man, like, because you had it,
Yeah.
and now it's gone, right? So when you think about this in terms of real estate, like, we don't win, right? But we earn money. But I'm always blown away at how quickly agents can like negotiate away their commission, or, you know, run to like solve a problem and pay for something that they don't really need to do because that's not what they agreed on in the first place.
Right.
And I was trying to dig into that, and it's because they never had it to begin with. So it's just sort of this like, I'm just taking it away from something that I don't already have. But if you actually said, hey, I need you to write a check right now for whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
it would feel a whole lot different, even if it's the same amount, which is kind of nuts. So loss aversion is this fear of loss exceeding the desire for gain. So visible losses hurt more than invisible risks, right? You can see it. So invisible risks, they don't seem like they could hurt you because they're unseen, but, and you're going to see why we're talking about this in a minute, but invisible risks are easy to ignore, but they really hurt when they hit you, and usually after it's too late to catch up. All right? So some examples, some money, even you could do the same amount, but even if the prospect of like losing $5,000 out of your bank account today creates more fear or pain than the prospect of gaining $10,000 today. The idea that I could gain it if I go out and do these things,
Yep.
right, versus having to write a check for not doing those things. So how does this tie into what we're doing, right? We're going to talk about 40X because we're about to launch a new 40X. And so that's a consistency piece, right? It's activities and you're committing to something, right? So you can make a commitment to attend a class. You can write, handwritten notes, make phone calls, send out marketing, do things consistently. And you're losing out on something by doing that, right? You're losing out on probably just time, little effort and time,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of times people they're like, oh, well, the status quo is okay. Like I don't want to rock the boat. I'm kind of going okay,
Yeah.
right? And so let's just not mess it up.
Yeah.
What if I do something that takes too much time and then I end up losing something that I already have?
Yeah.
That feels really scary.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about all the education that we're offering, right? Inaction has a cost. So if you don't sign up for it, if you don't attend the class, you don't do a 40X, or you don't write those notes, it does have a cost, even if that's the status quo. So if you do these things, the gains that you don't know, because the gains are, I don't know what I was trying to say there, because it's invisible until you do and make it visible. So what separates normal people from successful people? Successful people don't care as much about what they might lose as compared to what they gain or could gain by taking a risk. And so this is one more piece to this, and it's kind of the same thing, but y'all know what that word is on the right? What does that say?
Commission.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to call it commission though, right? So it's omission and commission.
Like commit.
Exactly. So omission, what's up, Zach?
One thing on the previous slide in which you went over, I like to say I'm playing to win.
Playing to win.
And I say that a lot during college football season. When the coach play to win versus playing not to lose.
Bingo. I love that. Playing to win versus playing not to lose.
Yeah.
All right?
The old prevent defense. Just
Yeah.
prevents you from winning.
And when you lay it all out there, you can be vulnerable and you can, you might hurt yourself, or you might, I know a lot about football, so I can go on for a while about this, but that's a good point. So omission is the act of omitting, right? Well, commission is sending or a mission to accomplish something. So simply put, it's a decision to do something. So commission is a decision to do something. And I love this because when you commit to doing something, you can earn a commission, right? And so it's pretty easy to remember. But again, a lot of people, they stick with the status quo and, play not to lose versus playing to win, trying something new. So I'm not going to read all this, but this will be in the slides. But just quickly, in 1961, you probably remember JFK said he wanted to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, right? What changed that, right? At the end of World War II, America was like the greatest generation was coming home, and it was amazing. America was rocking. And then it was kind of just this like, we're cruising. We had the closing. We're doing well. We're sitting by the pool. You know, we'll get to that stuff later. I know there's some classes. I know there's other things that are happening. I know the year's starting
I
out,
think
but like,
Russia was the big Zillow in the sky though. Called
yeah. Right. I know. But we're talking 20 years before,
Okay.
right? So 20 years before.
I'm back.
And then bam, 1957, what happens? Russia launches this spaceship,
Yes.
and the U.S. was like, what?
Yeah.
What are we doing? What have we been doing? Oh, we were just still celebrating from the closing, right? For the last 15 years.
Gotcha.
You with me? Like, so that was omission. That was just status quo riding it,
Yeah.
not commission. So the greatest risk lies in items that you are ignoring, deferring, or simply deciding they are too hard, even if they're not. You might decide they look too hard. Those are acts of omission, and they lead to really the scariest thing, which is the largest risk of all, which is irrelevance. So,
Love it.
you'll learn more about 40X soon.
You don't really believe we made it to the moon, do you?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be a hoax, obviously. I do believe they made it to the moon. All right, Connolly Corner, what do we got?
All right. Well, let's do our Stoics. You know.
We got our Stoics here.
This is a good one. The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you and whose presence calls forth your best. From
that's
Epictetus. Epictetus?
How do you say it?
Epictetus.
Say it again.
Epictetus.
Epictetus.
My dad's been
Just say it
talking
quick.
about him ever since he was in elementary.
Really?
Epictetus.
Your dad's a Stoic?
He likes,
Yeah.
philosophy.
How do you lift me up?
Well, I was going to say, well, thank
He
you.
didn't say. He didn't hear me.
Well, you know, it's great advice, but then not always, like, you know, you don't always have the chance to be, you know, you may work with somebody who doesn't. I mean, I'm fortunate I get to work with you and you're always lifting me up, but what if you were kind of a tough guy to work with, not
Yeah.
you know, knocking me down, right? Then I gotta fall back on the 7 rules of the Stoics, which are: focus on what you can control, don't suffer imagined troubles, make a little progress each day, study the lives of the greats, define what success means to you, courage, temperance, justice, wisdom, and then memento mori. Remember, you
If
must
we, I
die.
was gonna say, if we take a picture of that with our phone, is it gonna tell us what that means?
Remember, you must die. So,
Remember,
the
you must
Stoics
die.
The Stoics are
When you put it in another language, it just sounds so much more beautiful, right? So less
Big
good.
game didn't kind of roll off as well as this.
yeah.
That's good. All
And
right.
then finally, pain is neither unbearable or unending. And as long as you keep this in mind, as long as you keep in mind its limits and don't magnify them in your imagination.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we're gonna have some, like, life is full of struggle and pain, but if you can kind of keep it in perspective and not let it spiral you out of control, that's something the Stoics really believe in. I thought that was pretty good.
That is good. Y'all like that?
I like the Stoics.
Yeah, always focus on things you can't control and don't worry about the things you can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's just self-control and personal responsibility is kind of the 2 big things I'd say they're after. All right, remember
Sometimes
the
we have to remind
markets.
ourselves of that when we're dealing with clients that don't know about that.
Focus on what you can control.
Because they think they can control everything, or they're trying to control everything because they're stressed. And then if we also try to control everything, it creates this thing called the conflict.
Maybe I should put some of those troops in like the fire agitation.
Just subtly slide it in there.
We're gonna worry about what we can control.
So we got some
remember, we like to
NASDAQ.
look at the markets because the market's always looking ahead. And interestingly, the markets have sold off quite a bit. A couple of weeks ago, the NASDAQ was up 22%.
Okay.
So we're down a little bit.
And that's kind of typical toward the end of the year, right? There's a little bit of a sell-off? No?
I wouldn't say so.
No?
No. I mean,
Take that
just-
back.
Yeah, year to year. It's not like kind of real estate sales that slow down in that way always. But there's been a few hurdles that we'll get into the market's been absorbing. But one of kind of some of the volatility. Bitcoin, for example, is down 20% over the weekend. That was 68,000 a couple of weeks ago. So. Interesting. So a lot of volatility. The other thing, economy-wise, part of what caused the sell-off was the new COVID variant, that Omicron that people coming. The latest on that front, though, Dr. Fauci said yesterday that in Africa, where Omicron is spreading, it's not driving up hospitalizations as much as feared, and so the early data is pretty encouraging on that.
That is good.
So anyway,
I'm also grateful. I forgot that I got my booster, and my kids are now fully vaccinated.
nice.
So that's cool.
Congratulations. But overall, the economy is coming into the current state, like with jobless rates
Yeah.
way down and consumers feeling pretty confident about their employment situation. You're seeing personal spending really be strong over the last couple of years. You can just see this. We'll have tons of economic graphs that just show this big spike with COVID.
Yeah.
It just comes down. But then if you look at the growth, and these are seasonally adjusted, so it takes into account Christmas.
It seems like people are starting to finally be able to get some of the things that they've been ordering in certain
Businesses
segments.
are stepping up investment because of that. So it just kind of all kind of feeds on itself. And so, and then also we're starting to see the supply chain start to ease,
Yeah.
which that's good. Over the past 2 years, anything that could have gone wrong with the supply chain has. You had weather events, you had just spikes in demand and
a barge blocking the Panama Canal.
this
Ship- Suez Canal,
Yeah,
rather.
yeah. So you had just some crazy stuff going on, and shipping rates have now declined for 8 straight weeks, which is good. Spot pricing from the route from Shanghai to LA is down 19% from its previous peak. So anyways, there's still, you can see they're going down. They're still really high relative to where they've been over the past couple of years.
What do
but
they
it's
accredit
getting
the
better.
change in the shipping cost to?
So we've done some things just to encourage the ports to get back on speed. I think some of it is just workers coming back to work and so you've got that. But we've also been imposing fines for ships that just don't get in and out as fast as they should. And so I think it's a number of things. I think it's just like anything that was going wrong has gone wrong, and now we're just kind of adjusting to this new reality, and it's slowly starting to get
Yeah, and you're having ships that have to sit out at sea for a month or two.
Yeah, are they just idle or?
When you're just idle, just so you got to pay. That's costly
You
too.
now know as much as I know about the shipping issues.
So home price growth.
Yes, I thought this headline was good. Karen Baker sent this to me, and it's kind of an ominous headline, a little bit like home price growth finally decelerating. It's just the start, and so you dig into the article, and it is true. Home price growth in the latest month has gone from 19.5% to 19.2% growth. So it's a 0.3% deceleration in the
Just a little bit.
case show. So one point is like, hey, be careful with the news you consume and the headlines. Like they're trying to get clicks and they're trying to kind of stir up anxiety in a lot of cases. The network news is
There's
notorious.
so much competition. I mean, it really is. I feel like headlines. It's just clickbait.
Who's
clickbait.
gonna click on the article that says home prices pretty much stayed the same? And
Yeah.
they're down. It's like,
Keep scrolling, right?
yeah. So, but there are some forecasts that growth's gonna go down. And remember, so Goldman Sachs says the growth's gonna go from 17 to 13%. Fannie Mae says go to around 8%. Like that's still growth year over year, right? So in Redfin, I put that one on this slide just because it's the worst forecast of any of them, and it's still 3% growth looking out next year, what they expect the market to do. So it's not necessarily bad news. It could just be
Yeah.
kind of the market slowing its growth rate down. Still doesn't mean it's not a healthy time to buy, particularly in markets like Middle Tennessee and Nashville, where you've got so much strength in the economic sector.
You know, that loss aversion thing I was thinking about pricing. Have y'all seen like some big? There's not every house in the market sells right away, right? There's some big price drops. I've seen sub-$1 million houses dropping 6 figures because they just completely missed the mark, right? And you've all seen this with the sellers that have dropped the price, right? That loss aversion thing is real because they've seen that number. They've got in their head, I've got a $900,000 sales price. No, you don't. You have an $800,000 house that you've overpriced by $100,000 and gotten in your head that you're about to lose $100,000 in a price drop, right? So be careful when you're talking to people about that, because that's real. They look at that, a lot of sellers get emotional about that, and they look at that as real money.
Yeah.
Tell me you have to give away $100,000? No, you never had it to begin with. Mortgage rates, 3.25%, a little bit up from last week, but that's, they kind of do this little dance up and down. So 3 1/4 or 3 1/8, I guess, for an ARM, and then 2.65 for a 15-year. So that's exciting. Remember what those were? What are 30-year fixed rate? Good work. Y'all paying attention. I like it. 40X. So January. So be on the lookout for an email this week, and you'll be able to sign up. We're going to do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're going to have a variety of groups on those days. We're going to do the mornings. We've done this enough times that we've really honed into what works. We're going to try to keep the groups as small as we can, but we want to be able to work with as many people as we can. And so 40X, if you don't know what this is, I'll send out a video. It's a 6-minute video that'll give you an overview.
Watch the video. It's really
Watch the video. This guy's the most enthusiastic man alive.
But it
But
really
it works.
lays it out.
Yeah, it works. It works. It really is. It gets you on track to do the things that we should all be doing, but are easy to do, but also easy not to do, right? And so the first discipline is define a goal. The second one is to define your lead measures. Your lead measures are quite simply the things that lead to you being successful, right? So, and the idea is not to try to do everything. Don't try to be mediocre at 16 things. Try to really double down, triple down on the 2 or 3 things that you're really good at and that are in your comfort zone and that work well with you and your personality and your sphere and whatnot. So if you're really good at open houses, don't then decide you need to go get internet leads if you've never done that and don't know how to do that and that feels overwhelming, right? Double down on what you're good at, because if it works, keep doing it, right? Discipline 3 is to create a scoreboard, which we've got, and so you can look at that, you can look at the rest of your team, see how you're doing. It's kind of some fun peer competition. And discipline 4 is to have a weekly meeting. These are 20 minutes, 30 minutes max, and it's really a time to just check in, have some peer accountability. But we've had a lot of great friendships that have come out of these groups, a lot of great co-working relationships and mentorships. It's phenomenal.
It's one of the most important things I think we've done.
It's really fabulous. So yeah, and you're going to hear from a couple of our agents that have gone through it, and we'll see. Speaking of,
Talking?
Tim and Peter, here, can we have a? Let's see if I can lower this thing. Here, why don't y'all both sit? Can you both sit over here? Sure. Just back a little bit. So welcome. Thanks for coming, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Can y'all see? Maybe scoot over that way, though. I want to make sure you're both in the camera.
Oh,
You're handsome fellas. So you all are newer to the real estate business,
we are.
but you're doing really well. And so we started out at 40X. So just put you on the spot. Like, talk about that, because you all were in a group that I was helping to lead, and I was always impressed. One, at just how consistent you were, and you all worked together. We'll talk about that. But what did you think about that? What worked? What didn't work? Where did you find some success with it?
Yeah, I loved it. In fact, that's why I was there every week. One of the only. But yeah, it was great. I thought it was really useful, and I thought it was great to kind of keep me on task every week with what I was doing. It was fun to be able to compare what I was doing with what other people were doing. So if I started to kind of feel bad about not making progress, I could go there and be like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. And then if I had issues, I could talk to them, which was great. And it was so great that we've employed it within our team, between the 3 of us.
Nice.
Yeah,
So we did a little mini 40X here towards the end of the year with another agent that we signed on our team. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. So you're newer into the real estate, but you came in like full steam ahead. Frankly, I don't think I've ever seen agents come in as committed and prepared as you all were. Like, it kind of knocked my socks off. And you're like, well, we're doing this and this and this. I'm like, have y'all been doing this for 20 years? Because you seemed really committed. What led to that? And what's your background? What have y'all done in the past?
I'm a full-time musician, so my experience as a musician and navigating in the world, trying to be successful in the music business is just, I've applied all that stuff to, the skills that I've carried over in my real estate business. So, and we've shown a lot of that stuff today. Being consistent, chipping away at things on a day-to-day basis, showing up every day, not being intimidated by the mountain of information that we have to learn, and also just kind of diving in, not being afraid to do an open house or, get on a 40X meeting, even though it felt like we were, kind of inexperienced and new in the game. And, applying all the skills that I've learned as a musician has been the secret to my success anyway.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. It's like real estate and being in the music industry are parallel. They're both hustles.
Uh-huh.
It's a hustle. And so we've been hustling for 25 years in the music industry, both of us, because I also work in the music industry. Before we came to Village, we obviously knew each other, and we got together during the pandemic, and we're like, what are we going to do with all this time off? And I was like,
our
let's
industry evaporated.
Yeah, like, our
Overnight.
worlds
Literally
disappeared
evaporated.
overnight. Yeah, like
Tell me what you do in the music.
So yeah, what do y'all do?
I'm a bass player. I play with Brothers Osborne, and I do some sessions and some songwriting and producing.
And I'm an engineer. I have a studio. I mix, produce, and record music. So during the pandemic, that all went away, and we both were sitting around like, what are we going to do? So, among other things, to kind of circle the wagons, we were like, we should get a real estate license. We've been talking about this forever. I've owned 9 homes on my own. Pete has owned a couple homes and renovated a home and built an Airbnb. So we kind of had a plan before we got here of how we wanted, like a vision of what it was going to be before we landed at Village, which may be why it came off like we really knew what we were doing. But
Y'all have a good
just
front. Got stage presence. You walked in and really knew what you were. Made it look like you knew.
That's right. That's right. That's it. That's like fake it until you make it.
All right. So fast forward. So that was about a year and a half ago, maybe.
Hasn't even been a year.
It hadn't even been a year.
Yeah.
So have you sold a house?
Yes.
You sold a few houses.
Yes.
That's awesome.
A few houses.
And you know how many houses you sold?
I think we've done 8 contracts and 6 deals so
Yeah.
far.
All right, that's awesome. So very good. That's incredible. And you obviously you knew each other, but partnerships sometimes don't work very well because there can be animosity or resentment, or there can be just the challenges of trying to navigate this. But I think it works well because you're maybe back. You're going to start touring again.
Yeah. I'm not walking away from my music career by any stretch.
Right. Yeah, because you love that. But that's also probably puts you in a lot of other people's networks.
Yeah.
Keep feeding yourself some business.
That's right.
That's good. So what else should we know about you?
Wow, I don't know. What else do I know about us? I don't know. That's a tough question.
Honey, you got any other questions?
Do you remember how we met?
Yeah, so my recollection of how we met was I was in quarantine on COVID, and we talked on the phone for like 30 minutes.
How we talked on the phone? I was driving, and I needed to get my HVAC repaired, and I confused Hunter Connolly for Hunter the HVAC guy. And I called Hunter. Just so you know, when I talk to a subcontractor, I'm not the nicest human in the world. And I was like, Hunter,
That's amazing.
you're supposed to be in my house to fix my HVAC. And he's like, I have wrong number. Anyways, that was incredibly embarrassing. Awesome at the same time.
You're just driving around in your car to get some AC,
Yeah, I
finally.
was like, hey Siri, call Hunter. And I was like, Hunter, you're supposed to be in my house, man, fix my HVAC. And he's like, I think you got the wrong
Did you ever get over there? Did you ever make it over?
Process of quarantine.
But it
Couldn't get there.
was an awesome conversation. Luckily, he laughed it off and didn't fire me.
That's good. Well, that's awesome.
Where are you all from?
I'm from upstate New York,
What part?
from Rochester.
How long have you been down here?
I've been in Nashville almost 20 years.
18 years. I call St. Louis home. I grew up in St. Louis.
What area of Nashville do you live?
We're
East
both
side.
on the east side.
East Side. That's awesome.
Yeah, I live in Rosebank. You live, what's the name?
Graymar
Acres.
Graymar Acres. Cool. Well, that's awesome. So thank you all for coming in. Thanks for talking about 40X too, because it really does work. That was kind of a lucky thing that we're launching that, because you all are some poster children. You're not children, but you're poster agents for 40X successes.
You know,
Yeah.
some of the other leadership people in Village.
That's
Yeah.
one thing, like not to like sound weird or anything, but one thing we talked about when we first joined Village was like the jump start was really, really great, and that really did a lot for us, and we were able to like take a lot of that information and kind of employ it in what we're doing, and the 40X was the good follow-up to the jump start. So it's kind of like, this is what you're going to need to do and how to do it, and then 40X is like, let's help you do it every week.
Yeah, the trainer,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Yeah, cool. Well, thank you all very much. Sit with you, everybody. You talk about contracts for a second? Just real quick. All right, so reminder, code of ethics. You got an email from Susan or somebody probably, if you haven't done it. Maybe from you, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So do your code of ethics. You can either sign up for a class live or you can do it at nar.realtor.
And while we have this up, because we keep getting a lot of questions on this, so when you're at a renewal point for your license, you have to have the TREC core course, which is a Tennessee licensee requirement. And then you have to have your NAR code of ethics requirement it was 2, then we went to 3, and now we're back to 2, just to kind of keep you confused and on your toes. And so just keep that in mind when you're looking at your renewal date online. If you renew February 1st, it's everything after that that counts for your 16 hours. And you can check if you're due for a code of ethics on your Greater Nashville Realtors profile or Williamson County or wherever your association is.
And you can't substitute that. You can't use that for the core.
Right.
Yeah, those are
Core is
two
different
separate
class,
things.
2 different classes, both count for CE, but this is kind of a double whammy where it counts for your realtor standing and for CE at the state level.
That's right. All right, so we were talking yesterday. There are some contract changes. Every year there's a new contract. And this is the last thing we got. But there are things in here, and you were kind of like, yeah, there were some changes. And then you mentioned one of them. I was like, oh my gosh. I can only imagine, like, I guarantee you somebody is going to end up spending their entire commission because of this change on curtains.
Okay, so, but late breaking news, exec, turn that down. So originally, the forms committee had recommended that curtains be removed from the things that automatically stay, which is just way more confusing. But you have people arguing over $10, big lots curtains. Now, if they're grandma's hand woven, whatever, I understand, but not big lots. But they do remain. So that was just a confusion that I did not know, but exec turned that down. But we do have some good things. Give you a little teaser. There is a pass-fail option in the PSA, kind of built in as a third inspection option. If you didn't know, previously, like this year, once you send over your repair proposal, you were not allowed to then accept the property as is. So if I sent Zach was the seller and said, hey, I want you to fix these 5 items, Zach said no because he has a backup.
Maybe I'm just kind of like slow walking it because I got this other guy that's like, I really want that house.
So he's like, I'm just not going to answer, so we don't come to resolution, so the contract terminates. The way the contract was written was that you can't then automatically just accept the property as is.
You as a buyer can't be like, oh, I'm going to change that back. I'm not asking for anything anymore.
I'll just take it like it is. The way the contract spells it out is we both have to agree that I would accept it as is. So that was kind of a loophole that we discovered this year from some naughty little sellers, I'll say. And so now that has been addressed. So you reserve the right to accept the property in as-is condition during your resolution period. And then we have a appraisal gap addendum, essentially, that will clear up all the confusion everywhere. So we have some good stuff.
There's a lot of really big stuff. And I will say, having a forms committee made up by realtors, having attorneys that do this for the Tennessee Association of Realtors, they really do take all of the actual real world scenarios that happened because COVID and just the market has created all of these nuances. I mean, how many times have you had to call a broker or like double check and look at an old contract or look at the special stipulations language? Like, wait, how do I write in all this stuff that we're trying to make our offer be the best and most competitive? So
the forms committee meets every month. If you have an idea of something that you're using constantly or you've seen in the marketplace or you think that needs to change, you can email them. We discuss those options, talk to the attorneys, and then send it up for edits for the next year. So you're able to then kind of have your input on the contracts you use, which is really nice. Which is where
there's an email
as
address
a
too. I think you
council-
can send it to.
We can get the email. I
But
can't remember
anyway,
now,
you
but-
can
So
connect.
is the appraisal gap already done, or is it coming on 2000?
Yeah. So what's the timeline for this stuff?
It'll next January.
All right, so January. So we're going to have some training classes on this. We'll have it recorded, but this is like really good workshop stuff to come to in person. So plan on January.
January 11th at 10:30.
January 11th at 10:30. So mark your calendars. We live and die by this contract. We have so many people that in our business, usually not village agents, but in our business, and if you worked with one of you know, they don't read the contract.
To know it.
And they know the contract from 3 years ago, and they haven't read the one from this year, and they change a little bit every single year. So you can really represent your clients much better if you just know it like the back of
Read
your
the
hand.
contract. It's important.
RTFC, read the friggin' contract.
RTFC.
I have a question. Are
Yeah.
there going to be any changes to temporary occupancy?
No, and we did discuss that at the meeting. The temp occupancy agreement doesn't really have a lot of teeth to it. It's really only meant for a short period of time. They did add, I think last year, this was only meant for up to 60 days, which is usually what the lenders require. But if there's a situation where, let's say, I give Zach temporary occupancy and he gets COVID and he can't get out of the house, or he won't get out of the house, you literally have to go through the process of evicting them. So just be mindful of that. This year we were like, you can stay for 5 years, I don't care. But like, it is very dangerous. There are other situations where people cannot literally go into the house they purchased, and they have to go through calling the police.
Although I'm not an attorney, obviously, but it does very clearly say in the occupancy agreement, this is not a landlord-tenant relationship.
Correct.
Because there are certain landlord-tenant laws that do protect
They protect the tenant.
from like a landlord that a ne'er-do-well landlord maybe that just wants to try to evict somebody for the sake of evicting them.
And the key to it not being that is that it's less than 60 days.
Right.
If it's more than that, it becomes.
It's more than that. Okay, so more than 60 days, it automatically becomes that. So
I don't know automatically. But
yeah.
But even at 30, like, if I'm like, I'm not leaving. What are you gonna do?
Take the doors
Physically
off.
remove me? I mean, I don't
Can
know.
you take the doors off the hinges? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
It's cold outside.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. That wraps up our meeting today. So in 12, 13 minutes, you have a awesome class on open houses. So please attend that either in person or what are we doing? In person and Zoom or just all right? In person, Zoom. Come, make it interactive, learn something, and then open house season is coming up. January, really February, March, April, May is the best time to pick up a buyer. So y'all have a good one.